there is something called the default state of the body, wherein by default, these are the certain behaviors that you would have. Now, always if you want to work on something like habits, or if you want to work on just not procrastinating anymore, the easiest way is just start working on the default state. Like for example, if you're someone who, when you get 10 minutes, tend to scroll through phone, you want to instead have a book in hand ready, that the time when you feel compelled to scroll, you start picking up a book and reading. And the same goes for drawing as well. So in fact, as the time they was waiting, I joined in around 5:45, and for the 15 minutes I've been waiting, I've been working on completing some of my incomplete drawings that have been left behind. In fact, I've been working with brush pens, just experimenting with colors, and just trying out different things, and just this freedom to experiment. This will always prevent you from letting go of those inhibitions. So we will. I want you to take your pen. I want you to take your pen. And in this, what I want you to do is just pick any pen. Pick one pen, pick any pen. And what I want you to do in this is pick one book, any book. And what I want you to do is, I want you to work on just moving the hands in different patterns. Now, what we'll try is we'll try and fill one zone with one pattern, and then we'll move on to another zone, fill that with another pattern. Like for example, here I'm just picking this one zone here. Let's just draw one box. And within this box, you're going to have to fill it with these patterns of the hairs. See that? Just move the hands in a little bit of freedom. And just try getting this out here. Let's try moving the hands. Let's add in some depth into this pattern, creating more like hair. Just adding these depths here. Let's add in some more depth in selected zones. Just trying this out. And as you're doing, just give yourself in for the pattern. Try and maintaining that dark to light variation. Stay true to the pattern. Don't just move the hands for the sake of it. Move the pen for the sake of it. Try and keep up with the pattern that you are creating. Well, see. So if you feel like an inertia, or you feel sense of restlessness, oftentimes inertia is accompanied with a sense of restlessness, the need for the things to keep moving forward, but you're feeling stagnant. This is one great exercise you can do to just calm yourself down and bring yourself to the present. Another pattern that I'm going to be creating. Okay. One first parallel set of lines here. All right. Then the next set. Notice how I'm extending this one. I'm extending this one. I'm extending this. I'm extending this. Now I'm going to keep extending this. I'm going to extend this. Okay. I'm going to extend these. Extend these. Let's just try and extend these. See? Hey Poonam, welcome in. Just trying out these patterns. Let's
Good, how are
add
you?
in some more depth in these along these sides as well. That'll do. So with that, we just just warmed ourselves up. We just let go of the inertia to just start the fear. So now we'll move on to the drawing, the actual detailed drawing part. So I have this drawing so far. I hope you have completed this so far with me because we are going to pick up from right where we left off. If you have not completed so far, you can follow along with me along what we are going to be drawing right now. Okay. So I have this, I have done the dark part, I have done this. I'm going to now start working on this, just like we did the hair pattern outside. I'm going to start working on the hair pattern that is here formed outside. And for this, I'm going to starting with a 005 fine liner pen. 005 fine liner pen. And I'm going to my pen now has been used so much that it's run dry of ink. Either you can preserve these pens that are short on ink because they will help you create this light tone that you can use. Just adding some of these just going to add some going to add these patterns. Here there are these leaf-like patterns. So don't spend too much time trying to perfect these. Just draw a few strands in between this. See, because you can't always work with dark pens, just add a few of these light strands and that will help you go in depth. And always stay true to the direction. Notice this direction is very important. Notice as I draw these little lines. Hey Simi, good morning. Notice this direction that I'm pulling the pen. This direction is very important. And you don't have to follow exactly the direction that I am drawing. I want you to follow the direction of the hair strands that you have drawn. See, my hair strand, this particular strand is going in this way, and I'm going to pull my pen in that direction. And that is what matters. See this? What is this direction that I'm pulling this in? All right. Looks good. Now I'm quickly going to move on to the darker, take a darker pen. I want you to take a 0.5 or a 0.3, something equivalent of that, something that can give you some depth. I want you to start by working first on these edges, just pulling these lines out. See, notice I'm working on these edges, just darkening these, and notice what I'm doing here. I'm just pulling these lines out because I don't want to smudge it. I'm still following the same technique, but not going to draw it everywhere. Just I know the areas that has to be dark. See, I'm defining these whatever lines that are unclean. We already spoke yesterday about how to sharpen these areas. And notice how I'm keeping it mostly along the edge, along these sides where I know that I have to make it dark. So the reference picture has been shared numerous times in the group. Uh, and you can, just drop it once again in case you want to have a deeper look at it. There you go. Shared it once again. So in case you want to have a closer look, apart from that is already here. That's what you can do. See, I'm sharpening these features here. And along these sides where I know it has to be light, I'm going to be using a pen that is light. See, not every area has to go this look the same way. There are just a few hair strands here that I'm just going to that just adding a few hair strands here. Basically light pen lines. Otherwise my with a light pen. Otherwise I'm just adding a few strands so that this doesn't look blank. Otherwise it suddenly looks like the line has gone tuckler. I don't want that. Just adding these. You need to understand you use a pen for creating a particular effect. For darker zones, I have a darker pen. For lighter zones, I have a lighter pen. And the same thing I'm going to do on this side as well, just giving it this depth, darkening this here. The same depth, I'm going to add on this line here. Into notice the dark areas here. I'm just going to use the 0.5 pen. You can use a 0.5 or a 0.3 pen. See, notice how I'm constantly pulling those lines first to draw one line, then I'm drawing over it so that the line gets more legible, and then I sharpen those lines so that they look clean. That's what you do. Following that, I take a slightly lighter pen and I just add in some hair strands so that this looks more complete. Basically, draw the pattern, draw inside the pattern, give it a little bit of definition with a light pen, use the create the contrast, then create the final touches once again with a light pen. So you alternate between pens to add depth. And the reason we do this is also because once you add in the contrast, when you do the lighter areas, it's going to make a lot more sense. It's always relative. Dark, light, it's all relative. When your drawing is filled with light lines, you'll not be able to observe these smaller detailings into it. But once you add a contrast, your eyes easily will be able to catch this. Done. I'll just wait for you for 2 minutes. Comment in done after you have done this, after you have filled this portion. And I'm now going to draw below the helmet. First, I'm going to use a dark pen and I'm going to create the contrast. I've already done the lighter areas. Now just with the dark pen below it, I want to add shadows. That is the first thing to do. First, add the shadows. A lot of you might have created your own style of helmets. So accordingly, you can do that. But basically, first create shadow. Okay. And don't think about the detailing you're going to add for the shadow. Just simply create the shadow. Because after this is when we are going to now do the detailing. First, the basic shadow. All right. The basic shadow. After that, you're going to start adding definitions along the side of the hair just to have this area more defined. For this purpose, you're going to use a dark pen and you're going to look at these sharp ends. Like here, you can see that there is this sharp end that is here. This sharp ends that are coming here. Notice these sharp ends. So instead of using a light pen, I'm using a dark pen, and instead of we mostly focus on these lines, but I want you to focus on this zone and draw them as dark lines. Yes, clear? So here I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to just create this, start by adding this definitions along this face. And this is how we add the definitions. First we do the hair, which is just a lot more easier. Following that, we can work on adding the details along the facial muscles. First do along the hair. Notice the same details can be brought in here as well. Similar way. Notice these. These become the defining features. This is how you add sharpness into the drawing. These become the defining features of your drawing as you finally add these. And note how this black is also not evenly distributed. You will see that in some areas this is much more bigger, whereas in some areas it has to be thin. Here it has to be thin. But whereas here below, I'm making it much more bolder. I'm making it bolder so that there is a depth. Why? Because the nose goes in. This part protrudes out. When this part is protruding out and it is in closer contact with the helmet, there is lesser shadow, correct? On the other hand, this part, because it goes inward, there is this depth that is created. This depth that is created, and that is what I'm showing in here. So now I'm slowly moving on to the final detailings here, where I'm just going to work on this depth here. This depth and the zone here. Slight brush ups here. Just a slight touch ups here. And the same goes for here also, just a slight touch. I'll wait for you until you add this detailings along the helmet. Tell me when it's done, comment in okay, and then I'll move on to the next zone. This requires a lot of attention to detailings. I want you to make sure that you are with me here. So fill this portion below the crown. I want you to do that. Okay. Yes. Shall I move on? Yes. So now here I'm going to move on to this. I'm now going to add in shadows along this side. Notice the shadows present along this edge here, and this gives definition to the face. See the shadow along the chin line. So now for this, what I need to do is these lines that you have drawn in the same direction, you're going to do with a darker pen. So you're not going to change the direction of the lines. And I want you to draw it as individual lines so that it just looks good that way. Individual lines rather than just blackening it. Okay. This is AI generated, but you can do better than this. And see, notice these lines that are coming here. This helps give definition for the face. See, just few lines here giving that depth, much needed depth. Let's add in the similar depth along this side. Little less intense, but still it's there. See that? Along these sides. Similarly, we can add some depth around the area of the eyes. I'm slowly moving towards the eyes. But before that, I just want to make sure that I work on the other zones, because the depth for the eye does not come in drawing the eye, but it comes in drawing the other areas near the eye. I'm going to repeat that again. The depth of a feature does not come in just drawing that feature, but in working on the areas around it. So here, notice that I'm going to draw this, and this here helps create that shape, that depth. You can almost feel the shape of the lion's face here. And the same for this. See this? Directional lines. These directional lines here. See? So this does not require a lot of effort, but just some attention to detail. That's what you need for this. A little bit of attention to detailing. I'm going to now draw inside the eye. Okay. So inside the eye drawing is in fact very easy. Because I have the shape defined, I'm just going to shade on this, give it to this nice strong black outline. Be very careful. Really careful lines. Beautiful. Love the way it's coming out. Yes. Let's add in this here. Let's add this here. Then there is some, I still don't can see some areas for improvement, some scope for improvement. So what I'm going to do here is, it's very interesting. Once I've drawn the areas, this black thing here, I am not yet leaving it as it is. Okay. Let me zoom in. Notice how there is still some shade here. And this is not fully black. So I'm going to use a light pen. Take a 005 pen or a 01 pen and just add few lines on top. See? Just a few lines on the top. Why this? This helps create that shade. All right. Let's do the same thing for the side as well. Starting with around the eyes. Pay attention to these edges, these muscle tissues edges. Let's just pull the lines inwards. Let's pull this line inwards. Along the top. See? Just working on the surrounding areas. And stay true to the direction, guys. The direction is what plays the major part. If you get that direction and that angle correct, then the entire drawing is going to really look stunning. Just it's not about how much lines you put, it's about the quality of the lines that you're putting. And that quality is determined whether you are able to get hold of the shape, this pattern. Going to do the same thing here, just darkening this eye slowly but steadily pulling this out. See, that immediately helps bring that depth. Along the nose, just going to start working along the nose, but I want to make sure that you've done this so far. So comment in okay once this is done. Can't wait to move on to the nose. And now we're going to work on this region. The nose here, the whiskers. I'm going to work on this region completely and complete this. Yes, Neelam, Poonam, Navneeta, Simi, Maitri, Guha. Yes. Okay. Beautiful. How about others? Now I'm going to move on. Yes. Now I'm going to move on to this region here. So I'm going to start obviously with the darkest zone because that's when I can get that definition coming first. So I'm going to work on just defining this area. And remember, I've already done the work on the light areas here. So it's not like I'm starting from this. I've already done the basic first layer of light lines. Now I'm just going to define some of these features here. So this nose, this just requires you to just add in these lines in this direction very clear in this thing. You can just give it the solid ink coating as well. Just you can look at how the nose is shaped and you can just shade along that. First definition along the nose. Second, I'm just going to sharpen the features. When you're sharpening, work on the outside edge. See, just give a dark line along the outside edge and you have the features sharpened. Sharpen along here. See, just pulling these along here, just clearing these areas. But let's not overdo this. I want you to now take a 005 or a 01 or something that's light and just draw these dotted lines in this direction. See, the direction you're going to be following is the shape of the mouth. It's the shape of the mouth, and you're just going to, instead of a line, you're just going to put these dotted lines that you're carefully drawing in this direction. These dotted lines, you're putting them in this direction. Let's go. Dotted lines that you're going to put in this direction carefully, slowly, but steadily. Let's do the same along this side as well. These dotted lines. There. These dotted lines. Yes, don't overdo. Yes. See, very light. Notice the meaning behind this is just to give that, this whiskers are on these dots and you just want to put that. So you don't want to overdo these areas. And once it's done, it's fairly simple. Just pull your lines from here. You don't know to do with white lines also. You can Although I wouldn't mind if you used a white ink pen, but it's not needed. You can just simply pull these lines in this hash to just show the whiskers here. Yeah. See? Just pull these lines and there you go. Let's give some definition around this as well. Just a few touch-ups around this zone. And along the nose. Notice, even though I'm drawing a lot of lines, in my view, drawing is we are not getting the right side right. So you can follow along. See, I'm laying out all the principles for you. You can take your time and you can do this, of course, in a class. There are time limitations. I can't just go in the pace. I also have to maintain that this has to be completed within a certain time as well. So yeah. See, now the thing is, since you already have have all these drawings. So now here, notice every line that I'm putting, it is adding a certain meaning to the drawing. Meaning means either it's adding depth or it's making this features more clear. So never put random lines. Notice how these just two lines put here has added definition to the nose. Similarly, if I were to add, uh, if I were to add some lines like this, see, it's giving that feature for the nose. If I were to add lines here, it means the face is getting highlighted. So always you want to pay attention to that meaning, that depth that you want to create. All right. So now that leaves us with the last and final part. Let's just take a moment and soak this in. It's going to so and I just soak it all in. I want you to just look at your drawing with a lot of love. Almost getting there, right? Feels exciting, right? And see, notice when we started the session, we started with 25 people amongst you. You five are here. So you guys are absolutely special. That you are consistent. I know the biggest challenge most people face is waking up in the morning. I know it because I personally also face this challenge. Every morning I face this challenge. Now remember, the key is not to get into a place of not facing challenges. The key is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and overcome them. That's what builds grit, right? So now we are now going to move on to this here. The crown. Many of you might have made individual designs for the crown, but basically what I want you to do for the crown as well is first define the crown very well. Like whatever areas that you're going to add in the depth, really define that crown with the shadows first. That's the first step. Here as well, we're going to work on these definitions here. get this direction and this very, very clear. And I'm now working inside the patterns. Depending upon how you've drawn it, I'm now adding these jewel like designs here, adding this depth for these rope like features here. The same goes for this, adding these, adding these features for this crown, just pulling the lines and not trying to make too much of it. Just kind of get that impression of that jewel and that crown that's there. See for the pearl and just shading here to create the effect for the pearl. Bring that shining light. Let me add in some more. Let me add in some more of this detailing inside this. See, I'm using a 01 pen and I'm just drawing inside the face. There are these design elements that I'm just putting. And this is completely in your freedom. What design you want to add, giving it this tribal feel. And overall, along these sides, I just want to add in some additional depth. So just I'm with the pen, I'm just going to add a few lines there to just give that shadow effect here. There's these design elements here. This crown, defining this crown shape here and here. That's it. So, what do you think? Well worth the wait? There you go. Now you can, if you want to add in more details along this, of course, you can think of these edges, how you want to darken these edges. You can always think in terms of how can you give more definition on the shape. But I think, of course, this is already a really, really good place to be in. And if you want more, then of course, just try adding these middle tones. There is a light area, there are the dark areas, there are these middle tones. If you feel like you want to add more, there is of course scope for so much more detailing. And in fact, remember, the scope for detailing never ends. There's much more you can do. In fact, if you just take this hair out, you can just keep adding some more hair flowing out, and it's going to look good for the drawing. See, whatever you do, don't forget to balance it on the other hand. At the end of the day, remember, what you do, what you make should be something that makes sense to you and that you are completely proud of. Don't compare yourself against any external standards. Yes, don't compare yourself to any standards. And stay consistent so that you can get better than you were earlier. All right. Super proud of you. Super, super proud of you. I want you all to turn on your cameras. All of you, turn on your cameras. Yes. And show me your drawing. Yes. Superb. Whatever you've drawn. So we did a 1 week art. So we did a 1 week morning art challenge in a community, and these are the people who stayed till the very end. Look at their work. Absolutely amazing. Hats off to the consistency and for staying in throughout. And yes, super proud to have personally created this. Amazing. All right. So to answer two of your questions, yes, there's rather than trying to force it in one session, this gives me much more space to go in depth. In fact, I it's been a long while since I've actually spoke in depth about shading anything, because a lot of times I have to take classes for beginners and I just can't go into the details that I want to go. And yes, I personally enjoyed this. When do I overdo it? I overdo a drawing when I cannot make out the difference between light and dark. I cannot make out the difference between shapes. That's when I know I've overdone it. Behind every drawing, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining in, Poonam. Behind every drawing, there is a purpose of, there's one thing that stands out in a drawing. In some drawings, it is the texture. In some drawings, it is the contrast. In some drawings, it is the simplicity, right? The lack of detailings is what, the minimalism is what makes some drawings stand out. So now here, I know I've overdone it when this quality cannot be seen. For example, in this case, it is the texture, the flow of the hair, and at the same time, the shape of the face, the contrast created by that defines it. If I cannot make out the different facial features, and if the hair looks very haywire all over the place, then I know that I can do a better work at it. That's always how I try to understand. Okay. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Please do complete it. This is entirely recorded and you can watch it. All right. So we'll end this with just a small salutation. I just want you to look at your drawing, what you made. I just want you to go back to where it all began. We started with a blank piece of paper, and through patience, through consistency, and through hard work, we now have this. We have this. Just few days ago, if I showed you the drawing and told you that you can do this, some of you might have disbelieved me. Or maybe many of you would have thought that, oh, it's too tough. But hey, you did it. It wasn't easy, yet you did it. And that is the biggest lesson from all of this. That through patience, through consistency, through trusting the process, and just paying attention to what we have to do right now, we can go a really, really long way. Let's just close our eyes and imagine yourself standing on top of a mountain. You look around, you see a large meadow. You're at the apex. This large meadow. You see everything. You just see a land. You see trees, house. You're around. The sky is absolutely beautiful. But hey, when you went there, when you just saw a little closer, you saw that this whole view that you're having, all of these, you can see a life playing on the ground. It's like different dramas that is going on. You can, in fact, when you look closely, you can see that there is so much that's happening, so much activity. And all of these are different aspects of your life. But hey, you also look on the other side, you see the same things happening, but with some differences. You look and ponder upon why this difference, and then you come across one great realization. Both of it is your life. Both of it is your life in based on the different decisions you made. The life that played on one side is based off a current set of decisions. The life that played on the other side is based off the different set of decisions. You see, and you just realize that the same situations in which you thought you were helpless, you strongly overcame just with the power of decisions. Your life is literally the decisions you're making. And if you decide right now, you can choose to live like a lion, unafraid of the crowd, unafraid of what other people think, ready to claim your spot. You are all lions. I just truly want you to feel the power that you can embrace it. Let's just open our eyes and soak into this feeling. Okay. So this drawing, I just want you all to take a good frame of it and keep it, because it's going to have a lot of meaning for you all. Thank you so much, and wishing you all an amazing day. Bye. Share your drawing and the group and write your insights as well.